Page 21, Cockles and Mussels. On page 20, it looks to me like they're giving you a review. I would think you've had all this before. However, I can't remember what you've had before, so I'll cover it anyway, at least a little bit. A triad is simply a three-note chord. Tri means three, because you have tricycle, triplane, tri-whatever. Triad is three-note chord. Any three-note chord. Now, a few lessons ago, they introduced you to the C scale. That's where I said they were using tetrachords, and I said, go use my scale video on C major scale. Learn the beginner part of that. One octave up and down. Here, the white notes. Okay, let's take this a little further then. In any scale, the notes as a group for a scale, we call that the key. A key for a scale. The word key has different meanings and it's confusing. When we think about key signatures or the key of a scale, we're thinking about the overall harmony of the scale. How many sharps or flats are in the scale? That's what we're talking about. C major has no sharps or flats. It uses the white keys. That's why we start on it, because the pianos lay out so nicely. It's just easy to see the pattern. So in C major, the notes are numbered in any scale. I'm using C major as the example. Starts with 1. We don't start with 0 in music. We always start with 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 notes in the scale, because if I get to 8, that's 1 again. If I build a triad on a step, like here, this is step 1. I build a triad on step 1. We call that a 1 chord, because it's built on step 1 of the scale. In music, they're identified by Roman numerals. They're not showing you that yet. They will eventually, but it's a 1 chord. And it just goes up from there. 2, 4, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all. Just numbered. All the keys work the same way. You just got to know what black keys or white keys are in each key. Key is confusing. Too many keys here. They talk about root position. You see, I can rearrange the notes. This C chord, or the 1 chord in C major, same difference, is a C, E, and G. As long as I use those note names, I can use them anywhere, I get a C chord. If I go with a G and an E and a C here, it's still a C chord, because it uses those 3 notes, the names of those notes. They're just arranged differently. Well, when the arrangement is every other note like this, it's called root position. So it's sort of like the basic starting position, the root position. And when it's in root position, the bottom note in the chord identifies what the chord is. C is the bottom note, and that it is a C chord. D chord, E chord, F, G, A, B, C. If I rearrange it, say I put the C on top, well, now there's 2 notes here in between, so it's no longer in root position. Therefore, the bottom note does not identify the chord. If I want to do that, I got to keep turning it over until I get it in root position, because I can keep turning it over here and then put this on here, and eventually I get to root position. Doesn't work for every chord, but let's keep this simple. We're leading up to more. We're going to add more to this, so try and understand this much now. Well, and when we do get to more to tell you, I'll have forgotten I told you all this and probably tell it to you again. It's the way I work. I don't know. Now, at the top of page 21, they talk about a key signature. Oh, it just gets better and better, don't you? Okay, in the written music, you have the curly brace that identifies it as a grand staff. Then you have the clef signs that could be treble and bass, it could be 2 bass, it could be 2 treble, who knows what it is, but they're clef signs. And so far, then we've had the time signature, which are the numbers. Well, there's also a thing called a key signature, and that tells you what key you're in, or how many sharps or flats are just in the scale that you're in, or the notes you're using. It's kind of hard here to show it because C major doesn't have any sharps or flats in it. Therefore, it's empty. But it goes right where they're pointing. It goes between the clefs and the time signature. And I used to have a time, I couldn't remember the order they were in. Is it clef and time and key, or what order were they in? And then it occurred to me they're in alphabetical order. Clef sign, the C, starts with C, clef, that's first. And then key signature is a K, that's next. And then time signature is a T, so you got a C, K, T. That's alphabetical order. And that's how I remember what order they're in. You remember it any way you want. That's what I use. So you look at this and you don't see any sharps or flats, and you think, okay, we're in C major. Therefore, I'm going to use the notes in the C scale. Therefore, I need to know what the C scale is. So that's why I'm telling you, well, it's the white keys on the piano. Now, after all that garbage, let's talk about Cockles and Mussels here. Treble and bass clef, 3/4 time. It's 4 lines long. There's no repeat sign or nothing. We're going straight through it. It has a pickup beat, so we're coming in on beat 3. Therefore, there should be another measure somewhere with 2 beats in it, because every measure's got to have 3 beats according to the time signature. And when you look at the bottom, the last measure, it's got 2 beats in it. That's fine. Those are beats 1 and 2. Beat 3 is at the top. Let's cover the hands one at a time. Make sure we got the rhythm and the fingering and all that. Your right hand is not moving around. I really wish that take out these finger numbers. All you need is the finger number on the first note to tell you where the hand goes here in this piece, because you're not moving around. You don't need any of these other finger numbers. I would prefer you take a pencil and scribble out any of the other finger numbers that are in the treble clef here. We're in this C position, and it is 1 and 2 and 3. I've spent time in previous videos explaining dotted rhythms. I really don't want to have to go through all that mess again. Just know that the quarter note is on beat 1. The dot after the quarter note, that's on beat 2, because the quarter note takes up a whole beat. The dot is the same as an 8th note here. So the 8th note comes on the end of 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2. And you make sure you can play all these okay. The rhythm's okay, not a problem. Left hand. Well, the left hand, you get the pickup and then chord. C chord. Put your hand in that position and you lower the hand. Same. 1. And all 3 of those notes are tied. So you're going to hold those down for 5 counts. And then I rest, and during the rest you come up. Now we have a D chord. You hold those down for 5 counts. Isn't this fun? On the second line, it's an E chord. You're just kind of going up to the end of the second line, or measure 8, and then it's here. And now you lift up and come down. That's all. Just lift up. We're moving. So we can do it all again. Put the hands together. 3, 1, 2. See that? C is by itself, and as you're doing it, you're moving the left hand. So I'm moving my left hand around, but I'm not moving the right hand. Now, when you go from measure 6 to 7, there's no rest on the left hand. So you just lift up and move. Here, you just lift up and move. That's okay. You're cutting that chord just a little bit short, so you got time to move. It's not done rhythmically or anything. It's just lift up and move. Once you can put the hands together, then go back through it a few hundred times and get rid of the hesitation so it is a steady beat. Doesn't matter how fast or slow you go right now. Keep it slow, but it has to be a steady beat all the way through. The fermata at the end, you just hold that out. If I do it with a metronome, I'm going to hold that C chord, that quarter note out, 2 counts instead of 1. I just double the value of the note. And the right hand I'll hold out however long I have to match what I'm doing in the left hand. That's the fermata. Just hold it out a little longer is all. Then we think about the phrasing of the articulation, the melody. So the first note is melody. lifting up. I disagree with that, I really do. The lift up. So they're lifting up, just a little lift. It's like taking a breath. I disagree with the first one because if you read the words, the sentence, it just goes, there's no comma or anything break in there, so why is the music breaking? I would connect that whole first line together except for the last note. Just now. So in my opinion, you can do that. The third line's the same way. I would connect that third line all the way across except for the last 2/8 notes. You can lift up for those. And I'm following the words. There's commas and periods in the word. That tells me the phrasing. Left hand, you can't do much of anything with chords. You just play them. Then we think about the dynamics. And again, I don't agree with the way they're doing the dynamics because it's not really realistic. The MF at the beginning, in between the staves, is mezzo forte, moderately loud, sort of loud. It applies to the melody. They're saying it applies to the top staff. Well, in a way it does because that's where the melody is. But the fact is the way music notation works, it applies to the melody. That first note is melody. And that's, so it's whatever you think moderately loud is. And that's the only thing you get all the way through, so the whole thing is basically moderately loud. Now you're not going to keep it exactly that. You can get a little louder and softer once you start feeling it. I'll get back to feeling in a minute. Left hand is going to be soft, and they put the P down there. That's what I disagree. You don't need the P. All you need is the dynamic for the melody, and you need to know everything else is background, softly. Just learn to play these soft. Try and get them down at the same time. I don't, but maybe you can. Except for that one pickup note that is melody. So can you play that louder and soft? That's tricky, because the last note of the second line, same thing. So we want to hear the melody. And I'm not playing the melody louder, so it can be louder than the left hand. I'm playing the melody where I want it. And I'm making the left hand soft. And then finally, the speed. Moderately slow. If you were going to sing it, how fast would you sing it? I ain't singing it, but it's a sort of slow, not slow. You have to be careful on a piano on slow because it gets to the point where it just drags. So, I mean, it's like here, start at measure 5. If I play this too slow, it just drags. And that does not work on a piano. Because when you hit the keys, play the keys, they die away. And it just drags. So careful, don't get too slow on a piano. So there needs to be something else going on to keep you entertained if you're going to go slow. So this is sort of slow. Here, that's fine. And it's the feel of it, not the beat. Then you have a retardando at the ends where you're going to slow down here. Here you can drag it. There. Finally, at the end. Drag at the end. Okay. There's a decrescendo there at the end, the last two, so you're going to go down to soft. Soft. Come down. Now left hand's just got to get as soft as you can. I like to play it with you slowly. Let's just double check all the notes and rhythms. I'm not going to do any dynamics. I can't slow down. We're going to stay with a metronome. I'm going to give us 2 counts because we come in on beat 2. So I'm going to go ready, go. And then we go. Ready, go.